I'm Van Sebastian here with my co-host S.A. Baz Collins for this week's Written on the Edge Season 11 Episode 12 interview. We are joined by Lee Pulaski. That's right, he's back in the hot seat to discuss his latest novel, Murder of a Midnight Marriage. So if you haven't heard his previous interviews, and I highly suggest you do, they're listed right here, let me introduce my guest. Living in the real world was never a long-term plan for Lee Pulaski. He spent many a day imagining bold adventures and playing them out in the quiet countryside of Chino Valley, Arizona. Lee was first published in high school for writing about the news and telling compelling feature stories about people. And while he's still a working journalist today, his excitement for writing mystery, romance, and fantasy inspired him to write his first novel in 2006 after one particularly breathtaking autumn, and I believe it was in my home state of Wisconsin. Lee, welcome back to the show.
I returned.
The returning champion with a new novel.
Yes, yet another one.
So we have asked several times what brought you to writing. It's in your bio. I'm not gonna make you repeat it. I'm gonna make people go listen to your other episodes. Instead, I'm gonna ask you what brought you back to Zachary Gagewood to write book 12.
Well, it had been a couple years since the last mystery, so
Mm.
I figured I should probably
He decided to give the populace a
throw a murder
break.
in
So
there.
yeah, you
Yeah,
decided to give the populace of the town a break for for a year.
I did, and I know it's a village of 600, and I mean, 11 books, and you've already had quite a few murders and stuff. So I mean, you've already reduced the population. So I figured, give him a chance to grow a little
Right,
bit,
right,
have some kids and
exactly. Have a
stuff,
few
and then
kids, yeah.
So have you had the t-shirt Zachary Gagewood Murder He Wrote created yet?
no, I haven't. But that might be a good idea.
I mean, if you think about it, small town, a detective, lots of murders.
Absolutely. And I mean, I mean, that would be appropriate for this book because in this book, it comes around back to how he's written this book and never gotten published.
Oh,
And
nice.
now, and now in addition to solving the murder, he's pondering in his head, okay, should I take the plunge? Should I dare to do it?
So what should people know about the series before we talk about this book specifically?
Okay, well, I mean, I knew wanted to write mysteries at some point. I grew up reading Agatha Christie novels and everything, but I also knew that I wanted my own protagonist to be gay. So I made him a bookstore owner, a photographer. In the first book, he's confronted by a homophobic Mormon who doesn't want him to be at the event, and he confronts her and tells her to drop dead, and she literally does that right in front of him. So started off with that one, and then I thought, okay, well, what if murders happened at other events like teddy bear picnic, an art gallery opening? I did a couple ones back for a food week event, the
Mhm.
county fair, and I mean, even an author who was making a presentation at his bookstore wound up dead. So nobody's safe.
Yeah, I was going to say, you have your event coordinator in that town must be riddled with alcoholism because everything they plan goes wrong.
Yeah. The tourism bureau is pretty much in the fetal position, kind of
Yeah.
like, no.
So I'm assuming the murder happens early on. Can you tell us who dies in this one?
Okay, well, let me tell you a little bit. First chapter, we're introduced to Memphis Templeton. He is the manager of Gresham's radio station, WGRE,
Hmm.
and he a while back met this spokesmodel for a soda company named uh, Veronica Pentha, and they fell in love, and now they're getting married, and they want to get married at night. A midnight marriage is kind of a big thing for certain cultures, like the Hindu and everything,
Hmm.
and they want to get married, but I mean there are all these outside forces trying to stop them. First of all, the groom's parents don't approve. They'd rather Memphis have married some person from another radio station so that they could merge and form this big radio conglomerate.
Gotcha.
And then you got a drunk bridesmaid who tries to hit on every guy she meets, including Zachary, which, as we mentioned before, is gay. And then you got the best man who's got like all these rings and tattoos and everything, and he's very much the very definition of machismo. And then you've got the wedding planner from hell, who is basically shouting
She
at
did it.
everybody and telling them that if they don't get their act together, she's going to do horrible things to them.
So have you recently been to a wedding?
No, I haven't. So I actually had to talk to other people who've been to weddings and get their input, and made for
Nice.
something very interesting.
Nice. So who drops dead in front of Zachary this time?
Well, not in front of Zachary, but Zachary
Oh,
does find them. Both the bride and the groom. Spoiler alert.
double homicide?
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
went there.
They're found there, and they're found together minutes before the wedding. Which, I mean, as you know, it's supposed to be bad luck to see your future beloved for the
Mhm.
wedding. Well, they're in the same place, and they're posed in a position just like another infamous couple in history. So Zachary has to figure out not only who killed them, but who has the knowledge of distant history in order to pose them like this, to want to pose them like this.
Dun dun dun.
Oh yeah.
Love it. So rather than spoiling it, because it's still fresh out in the
Oh
world,
yes.
I'm going to ask about some of our related topics, so that just to draw people in without actually spoiling your plot. So
Right.
one of the things you had mentioned to me was that there are parallels in real life with a local soda company and a spokesmodel and a radio station, and I'm curious about that.
Oh yes. Well, Vance, you probably might know this better than Baz, but here in Wisconsin, the famous soda is Sundrop,
Hmm.
and a lot of people don't realize that a lot of Sundrop is bottled here in Shawano, where I
Yep,
live. So
yep.
there's a woman here in town. Her name is Jamie. She is considered the Sundrop gal, the Sundrop girl, and she dresses up in these pinup model dresses and everything, and performs at events. And
More
uh,
like the old style, if I remember correctly, like the World War One, World War Two style.
yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes. In fact, I think one of her latest dresses was from the World War II era. It was kind of a green with polka dots type thing.
that's the picture I saw. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then also the radio station here. I'm pretty good friends with the news director here, Brad Williams,
Hmm.
and he's also newly single. So I thought, you know what? What if we rewound time back about 20 years, put the two of them together, and see what happens?
Gotcha. Nice. So inspiration from real life.
Yeah, yeah. But obviously, I had to change the names to confuse the innocent.
Yeah, of course. To
Yes,
confuse the innocent.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sundrop actually became Forest Mist,
Okay.
and also I also had Veronica consider going in crossing over to another soda company called Pixie Fizz. So
Nice.
I,
So,
I it was fun coming up with those names. It was
oh,
just a hoot.
I believe it. So, Brad, does he know that he's an inspiration for a character? Not necessarily the like pattern, but an inspiration.
No, I haven't told him yet. So
Fair.
Surprise,
Just curious.
surprise.
I mean, as writers, sometimes we get friends who come to us and say, "Are you going to put me in a book? Can I help come up with the name?" So,
oh yeah, oh yeah. I've had a few friends that have done that. Had a few
yep.
friends give me ideas. In fact, I had one friend who suggested I write a book based on a little girl who met a tragic end in I think Georgia, I think it was.
Uh-huh.
And they've got the statue of her in the cemetery and everything, and it was just kind of a tragic story. But I haven't gotten around to that yet. I've kind of had too many other ideas bombarding my head, but
Sure.
There's a little list of those who are going to be killed off, and you must get to them first.
Well, I mean,
a little list.
given what I know of the town, you can write 599 books in that series.
Yeah, yeah, and then there's only one left.
Oh, so when Zachary's the last man standing, who done it?
Right. See, it's him. He's just framed everybody else.
That would be a good plot for
Uh,
the final book in the series. I'll have to consider that. Of course, that's still a long ways away, possibly. So,
yeah, well, there you go.
Let's
Yeah.
hope so. Let's hope so. One of your other topics, though, deals with personalities and our masks, specifically public-facing personalities, but sometimes we as public people open up and show the inner vulnerabilities. And you have a great example of that, Thomas Sanders.
yes, yes, Thomas Sanders. He's based in Florida. For years, he's done YouTube videos, and he started out on Vine doing like sex and not sex, 6 second stories. Bleh. 6 second stories on various things. It starts out story time, a man walking on a tightrope with a birthday cake in his hand or something like that.
Mhm.
But then he progressed over to into YouTube and started doing longer stories. And he's also done a series called Sanders Sides. He plays all the characters, but he's got various voices in his head based on his personality, his logical side,
Mhm.
his parental fatherly side, the actor creator within, and also anxiety and a few others. And it's just very interesting how he's created all this content. And sometimes I look at him and I'm kind of like, why aren't I doing that? And it's like, oh wait, I still gotta find a way to make my passion my full-time work, but I haven't made it that far yet.
So I'm going to ask a couple follow-up questions, and I promise to tie all of this back to your novel. Have you
Okay.
ever read Hero with a Thousand Faces by Joseph Campbell?
No, I have not.
It's an older work. He was a protege of, blanking on the famous psychoanalyst, Freud. He was a protege of the Freud line of thinking, but his ideas, he took myth and he saw how our heroes in myth often had masks that they wore for the different needs, and he applied it to us in life and how we wear different masks in different situations.
Mhm.
So, as an author, I highly recommend it. It's a great peeling back of personality and how our personality changes based on situation.
Okay.
Did Thomas's multiple faces inform this work that you've just written?
Um,
Because you
a
got
little bit.
celebrities now, and local celebrities, but celebrities in your work now.
Yeah, I mean a little bit. I mean, it's kind of fun to take people that you know and be able to cast them in a different light. I mean, keeping a lot of their core personalities together, but also at the same time plunging them into a situation. It harkens kind of back to my first interview that I did with you about White Christmas in the Desert. One of
Hmm.
my characters, Rebecca O'Shea, was based on a friend of mine that I'd grown up with and stuff, and she had a bunch of children and her parents owned a gun store and everything, and I kind of put a lot of that into the story while at the same time in making her my next door neighbor and everything. And
Right, right. Well, and looking at myth and stories and such like that, you
Mhm.
essentially took the kingdom and kingdom marrying their prince and princess for their merger in your soda companies. I mean, you
Yes,
you again, you took a mythic thread and you modernized it.
absolutely.
Did you do that
Yeah.
intentionally, or was it just sort of a, oh, inspiration hit the minute you saw words on a page?
I think it's the latter. The inspiration hit when the words started forming on the page, and I'm kind of like, oh, what can I do with him? What can I do with her? And
How can I create a little conflict?
oh yes, yes. I mean, and at the end of the first chapter, the wedding is being called off. At the end of the second chapter, they're back on. It's kind of back and forth, and it's a ping pong match on steroids. It's kind of like back and
In the public eye, no
yeah.
less.
Yeah, and then once things slow down around near the end, and they realize who the killer is, it's kind of like, oh, that's where it was.
Nice. Baz, did you have questions?
No, I'm just waiting for the next episode where they release the new soda called Bloodbath.
So, fun fact, for decades I used to call Bed Bath and Beyond Bloodbath and Beyond.
Well, you know.
Wait, why'd you
Yeah.
do that?
Because I never liked going in there and it was always a pardon my French, it was always a poop show.
Oh,
I always got dragged in at holiday times though, so it was packed and people were crazy.
Yeah.
can
And the
you say
scents
poop show
ran
on
wild.
YouTube? Can you say poop show on YouTube? I mean, the monetization factor and everything.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
know. It gets ridiculous. I'm sorry. We can't say certain words now. What the hell are we doing here? Sometimes the censorship. I mean, I've watched even, no, I know this is a complete sidebar, but I watched several like authentic documentary channels that are on YouTube. And they have like World War II thing and they blur out whole segments because there's a dead body on the, it's history. We know this happened. It's been around. You can go see the
yeah,
original. You know, it's like,
Hmm.
why are we censoring some really, really important stuff? I think we get to a point
yeah,
where some of these companies are too fearful. And getting to your book, I think that that's part of the corporate culture is that they are so driven to be successful that they lose sight of where their place is in the community. You know what I mean? And I think that
mhm,
can often contribute to the breakdown of character, the breakdown of community, and people just kind of accept it. They just think, oh, this is the way it's supposed to be. No, we don't have to
mhm.
choose this.
Right, right.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes back to the whole point of why I self-publish and stuff. I mean, I don't want a bunch of people saying, "Well, we should take this out because it's too sensitive a topic for people," or "We should take this language out because I mean
And yet
we're in
we
polite
know people
society."
like that exist in our lives. I mean, not maybe personal lives, but
Yeah.
we've seen others experience, where do you think the Karen thing came from? I mean, we know these people exist. They're awful,
Yes.
and they need to be written as they should be because
Oh,
you're
yes.
trying to really drive home that they are the villain, the main character in their own story, and they don't give two F's about, being the harasser in everybody's life, so
We're gonna have to beep out two F's too, because
yeah, there you go, there you go.
All right, Lee, is there anything about Murder of a Midnight Marriage or the Zachary Gage Woods series and its future that you want people to know that we didn't think to ask?
oh well, let's see. No, I think we've gone through it pretty well. And I mean, if we tried to go into anything else, I mean, that might get censored too. So
Yeah.
That's true. Or we're treading into spoilers. We've got to always be careful what we
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
say.
oh
yeah,
yeah, oh yeah,
especially with mysteries.
we can't
Yeah,
do that. I
yeah,
mean,
especially
because
with
I mean, if
mysteries.
we reveal the whole thing, then no
Yeah.
one's gonna want to buy it, and I'm gonna be a beggar in the street and
Please buy my
trying to
book.
write my next novel with a pencil and
Please
a piece of paper
buy my
bag.
book. Please buy my book. All right. Well, if you are ready, I'm going to let Baz take on our get to know you questions.
Okay.
All right, but before we get to that, just a quick reminder to like, subscribe, do all the things that are required of YouTube. And if you see the hype button there, hit the hype button. Help us out, get the word spread to all the people out there and potential readers for our writers. With all of that said, what book, film, or piece of art has had the biggest influence on your writing style?
Well, I thought about it, and what really got me interested in writing gay, so to speak, was a film I watched one night in my early 20s called Beautiful Thing. I had insomnia. I was 2 a.m. I was going through in the channels and everything, and I came across the in the movie, and it was about these two teen boys that are trying to figure out their sexuality in a time where being gay was not an easy time to go through. I mean, you see us a lot more in the spotlight today, but I mean back then seeing books, seeing movies where there are men who like men, that wasn't all that common. And just 30 short years ago, God, I'm dating myself.
And just to
And
add on to that, we do have a reaction with Albert up on YouTube that you can see that film with our reaction. So there you go. There's a connection.
oh, Ooh, that works. I didn't even think about that.
All right. Well, what fictional or historical character would you invite to a march with you at a pride parade?
I found this question really interesting because I'm not usually the one in the parades. I'm usually the one taking the photos on the sidelines of the
That's
people
right.
coming
Journalism,
through.
day job in journalism.
Yeah. But if I did have to choose, and I'll wait until you finish your drink,
Uh-oh.
I'd have to say Miss Piggy because you guys have seen the movie Bros, right?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Have you guys seen the deleted scenes that they took out of the movie?
No.
I think so.
Oh, well, there's one scene called Pride Fight that if you guys have the DVD or the Blu-ray, you have to see. And um, the parade devolves into a pride fight,
Hmm.
and I could just see Miss Piggy walking in the
Yeah.
parade and having some drag queen or muscle bro or something try to give her a hard time, and then all of a sudden all hell breaks loose.
Yeah. 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 All right. Well, if you or your protagonist had to survive a gay bar karaoke night, what song would you or they belt out?
Was originally gonna go with "Can't Fight the Feeling Anymore" from the 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
It's what I always sang in the time when I went to karaoke events. But since this is a gay bar we're talking about, my mind somehow gravitated toward Lady Gaga's "Abracadabra."
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
and I'm actually thinking about including some funny reference to it in one of my upcoming books. So
Nice.
but it just seems like the ideal song to entertain the masses, especially us gay people who are so like, you can't sing. Oh my God, that note was sour.
All right. Well, what's a place, real or imagined, that feels like home to you and why?
Okay, well, I'm going to go back to reality on this one. Todd and I like to go out whenever time allows for us, and one of our favorite places is this restaurant in Chino called the Farm Inn. They've got these farm implements, they've got these old barn photos. The lighting sometimes feels like you're in the barn where, I mean, you can see what you're eating and stuff, but it's not bright lights and everything, allowing everybody to see everything that you're doing. And it's just nice and relaxing. I mean, whenever we eat there, we spend at least an hour just kicking back, talking,
Nice.
eating, and chatting with the servers and everything.
Nice.
All right. Well, what's the strangest or most unexpected place you've ever found inspiration for a work of yours?
Well, it's not a specific place, but it seems like a lot of times when I'm out driving, going, especially long distances and stuff, that's where stories seem to pop up. I see something along the roadside and it's kind of like, that could make an interesting story. And the trick is being able to find a place to stop, write those ideas down before I forget them. Because I mean, there are times where it's kind of like,
Do you
ooh,
use
squirrel.
Yeah,
do you use the voice memo feature on your phone?
Sometimes I do,
That'd be a
but
great way to capture that well, especially on a long trip.
oh
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Especially if I have enough room between vehicles on the highway and stuff. If I'm not like driving 20 miles per hour behind this caravan of people, like the
Yeah.
Indianapolis pace car.
I mean, that's the beauty of the voice memo, though, is you just hit record and just talk while you're
True.
vehicling it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, which themes or motifs do you find yourself returning to again and again in your work?
Well, Christmas seems to have a hold on me as a theme. I
I was gonna
mean,
say holidays hit your books a lot.
yeah, well, one holiday mainly. I mean, Valentine's Day is usually the holiday that stands out when you think of love stories. But I always seem intent on connecting my gay guys with Christmas because it's considered the most wonderful time of the year. But you would think that with almost 30 books in my repertoire, I would have at least had a story addressing Halloween, the aforementioned Valentine's Day, Independence Day, hell, even Arbor Day. But it, the closest I've come to another holiday is in my short story book, Fables from Beyond the Rainbow. I wrote a short story that took place around Thanksgiving, but that's the closest I've come to another holiday. So I I need to get my act together one of these days and figure out, okay, what other holiday could I set it up in? I mean, I've had ideas for the 4th of July and everything and Valentine's Day, but uh, they've never really come to the forefront.
Mhm.
Okay. Finally, what's a piece of LGBTQ plus culture, music, film, art, or history that never fails to inspire you?
Well, this is going to seem a rather obvious answer, but my answer is the drag queens. I mean, you see people becoming exaggerated versions of folks out there, stretching themselves to not only be different, but to put that difference out there for everyone to see. I mean, it's no longer just in these private bars like with Stonewall and everything, where you have to hide. And now they're out in the forefront, and that's why you got a lot of these national figures that are so pissed off about them. I mean, I've managed to have 2 books where drag queens are the main plot point, and another one where they're out in the wings. So, hey, to all the queens out there, thank you. You're an
Yeah, you know what?
inspiration.
There's inspiration for your next work. You could have Dolly Parton come to the town to do an event, and the murder happens at her concert
On Easter.
on Easter. Yeah.
Well, it's ironic. It's ironic that you mentioned that because in the next mystery, I know you guys are going to ask me about my works and my
Yeah.
upcoming works at some point, but
Yep.
what the next mystery I've got down the line is called Murder by Hare's Foot, and it's based on the Hare's Foot Club that the University of Wisconsin had started in the late 1800s, went through the 1950s. As you know, folks in that time period, you didn't have too many women going to college. So if you did theatrical productions, you had men playing both male and female
Right,
roles.
right, right.
And the Harefoot Club was wildly popular. They traveled all around the state, and it went pretty well until about the 1950s. But the university's website says it eventually just kind of faded out in popularity and finding people and stuff. But what they don't tell you is that's the same time period as the McCarthy hearings and being blacklisted and all the hate and everything. And so the young men going into college didn't want to be associated with it for fear of being considered gay because they're dressing up in women's dresses and everything.
Right, right.
Mhm.
Well, you made it through our list. Bravo, bravo, bravo.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you just teased book 13.
Yes, but that's coming a little bit down the line. The book that I am working on currently, I think I might have mentioned it a couple of interviews back. Working on a another Christmas story, of
Because of
course,
course.
of course, where Mrs. Claus has to flee the North Pole because this banished elf with a fetish for weapons and power takes over and holds the big guy hostage. And Mrs. Claus flees to their vacation home, the place where they go after the presents are all delivered, and they can just breathe a sigh of relief and be like, "Oh, we don't need to deal with this for another what week, 2, 3." And anyway, she gets there, and there are already these 2 gay guys that are staying on vacation, and she has to enlist their help to save the North Pole. So
Okay,
Nice.
all right.
Is it written as a comedic romp, I'm assuming?
a little bit, yeah. I mean, there's some serious parts to it and everything, but I
Sure.
mean, and overall, it's kind of a hoot.
So let's see. That would make, with the preview of that book and the next mystery, 32 books under your belt.
No, it will make 30 even
30. Okay.
with those two because this one I just came out with is number 28.
Gotcha. Did you ever think you'd have that many in the world with your name on them?
No, no. I mean, when I first got the idea for my first novel and stuff, I was
Uh-huh.
thinking, okay, maybe I'll come out with this one. Maybe I'll write something else. But I didn't honestly think that it would keep going and going and going in a never-ending loop.
Well, kudos to your creativity and the Life Achievement Award.
Yay.
Life Achievement Award. How old do you think I am?
I didn't say you were done. I said that you
Hey,
got a lot done.
we've
There's
got
bonus.
we've got kids out there writing memoirs at 25. Come on.
And I didn't say you were done. You just got a lot done.
Ah, yes, yes.
All right. Lee, do you have any final words of wisdom?
Oh, words of wisdom. That could be dangerous with me.
Make it dangerous. It's your episode.
Well, you know what? Just just keep writing. I mean, it's something that we all need to do, and I mean, it's so easy to do now. You're no longer at the mercy of publishing companies who are only looking for the best of the best, and sometimes not realizing that, yeah, you got that brilliant story out there that could take the world by fire.
Right.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
now there are so many ways to do it. I mean, you've got self-publishing companies, you've got ways to do audiobooks and everything and be able to and to get the word out in a myriad of ways.
Right.
So,
And to dovetail on that, it is so important that our stories are told and recorded right now.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, like I said before, I mean, you got so many politicians pissed off at the LGBTQ community because of the various things we do. I mean, the drag queens, the pride events,
You know,
the
not to
and having a lot more stories out there. I mean, like I told you before, when I saw Beautiful Thing, there wasn't that much out there to show that, yeah, being gay is okay.
Mhm. I just want to say I don't know that it's so much hate from the politicians as we are easy scapegoats to rile up other people's hate.
Yeah.
I I
That's true.
I think we are a tool to them.
Yeah. And they don't even
So
believe
what we have to
in
do
what they're
is
saying. They just do it to stir up their base. That's all it is.
Hmm.
That's it.
so we need our
And
stories
it's
out there to tamp down the general hate.
yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
Well, I never thought I would say this, but here's to being a tool.
Amen. All right, folks, we'd like to extend a huge thank you to Lee Pulaski for joining us. Lee, thank you again so much, and thank you for your flexibility today.
Oh, quite welcome.
All right, we at Written on the Edge are proud to introduce you to new media by queer content creators. So if you enjoy learning about new artists or hearing our thoughts on entertainment media, please like and subscribe so you get the alerts for new episodes. The show was produced by Rogue Ravens Media. For our disclaimers, links to social media, our listen stations, or to sign up as a guest, visit www.ropepodcast.com. Tune in next week for your queer media fix.
I know.